All right, looks like we are live. I hope we're live anyway. So, hello everybody, Laz here. Greeno, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, brother?
Oh, man. Well,
we already have somebody in the chat, and I'm pretty sure that's, do you know that? Or is that some kind of fake weird shit?
I don't know that.
Anyways, go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, not much, man. So, anyone tuning in or watching, just thought we'd get together and kind of came up with this idea talking about collectors, and not necessarily just vinyl collectors, but somebody that is a collector, period. And the art of collecting, the things we go through, how do we form our collections, how do we maintain our collections, things like that. So this is just the first episode. We're just going to kind of see where it goes, probably go down some rabbit holes, and just discuss things about being a collector. So, and yeah, Greeno, I know you like myself, are not just a vinyl collector, correct?
Definitely. And that's why whenever you kind of threw this out at me, it's like, man, this could be kind of interesting, because I mean, you and I are a lot alike. We have, it's a gene or something, man, that collector thing that you just got to collect. And I don't know what it is. I've been like that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So
exactly. What's up, Mr. Bizarro?
What's going on, Aaron?
I was wondering if Aaron was going to pop on here. Hey, Jeffrey. So, speaking of, why don't we start with that? So you said ever since you were a kid, about how old were you when you started collecting something? And did you realize at the time, like, you were even collecting something?
No.
Or did it just kind of start to happen?
It kind of started to happen with, what's up, Vance? With records and comics, which are still two big things for me. But the first thing was records. And it started with Kiss. Everybody knows that if you know me. But it was like, I just kept wanting more Kiss records. And then I found out about AC/DC and Judas Priest. And then there was other oddball stuff in there. But anyways, next thing you know, you have like a nice little stack with your computer, with your stereo. And it just keeps kind of growing to where it kind of, by the early 80s, it was definitely turning into a collection. And I don't know about you. I bet you're the same way. Stuff like that was really important to me, I kept pristine as possible. I didn't lend them out. I didn't, I wasn't rough with them. Same with comics, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, how about you? Yeah.
I remember the first thing I collected was, once again, kid, probably, I don't know, 6 years old, roughly, right in that area. And there was, you remember the gumball machines where...
football helmets.
The football helmets. Yeah, they came in the little plastic balls, right? And you'd pop it open, put your football helmet together, you put the stickers on. Right? So I started with those, and my mom got me this little shelf to hang on my wall so I could start lining up the football helmets, man. And I realized one day that, number one, I didn't have them all. And number two, I still had room on the shelf. And for some reason, I had this overwhelming urge to, like, I wanted that shelf full. It wasn't right only being 2/3 full. It drove me freaking nuts, man,
I did those too, man. And actually, I had them up until probably about 5 or 10 years ago. I had them in a bag. But that was a big thing at the time. I remember, like, all the little kids our age, the boys were into football, buying those things. Every time you go to the grocery store or whatever, you're like, can I get one? Can I get one?
Yeah, and you never knew what was going to pop out. And so, of course, you'd end up with, like, doubles, right? And, I couldn't wait to go to school the next day, take my doubles, with my friends that were doing it, and we'd, like, trade and, for teams we needed and stuff like that. And so that's the first thing I really remember collecting. And then, later on, I started into the comic book thing, still pre-teen. I bought a kind of like a starter collection at a garage sale. But they were, it was like someone's, it was their reading collection. So they were just loose comics in a stack, and they weren't like, bagged and boarded and all that stuff. It was someone's reading collection, and I bought that. But it started going from there,
That's cool. Now, how I started with comics was in the 70s, I would go stay like a couple weeks with my aunt and uncle who lived in DC. And my uncle was a bus driver, city bus driver in DC for like 30 years. But anyways, every day after he got done, he would pick up like 5 or 6 or 10 comic books and bring them home to me. And I would read. And I think it was a little bit for him also, because he would read them too. And it was kind of an excuse because I was staying there. He could buy some. But at the end of my visit, he would be like, here, take those with you. And after a couple years of doing that, that turned into starting to collect comic books, and from about 1980 on, man.
Now, you brought up something earlier where you wouldn't lend things out, like I remember that's when I it's probably right around the junior high era where I was buying records and whatnot. I wouldn't say I was collecting them. I was buying records. I was amassing records, I guess. I didn't really look at them back then as like, this is my collection. It was like, those are my records, And I remember loaning one out and it coming back completely not how I lent it out.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's when I went, okay, I treasure my shit, and kind of made that like, it means more to me than what I initially thought it did. You know what I mean? But it's funny that I think I was becoming a collector without realizing it at first, I guess, is kind of the point that I'm making, I was a collector before I realized I was a collector, I guess,
I've had that experience, not with records and comics and all, but like with movies, back in the day, VHSs or stuff you would record off MTV, and you're all excited and somebody's like, hey, can I borrow that? And you lend it, and then you get something back that's just totally fucking beat up and dirty, and you're like, how can anybody be like this? It's not your thing that you borrowed from someone. And I've always been crazy about that. It's like, if somebody is cool enough to say, hey, take this, make a copy, back in the day, or hey, take this and read it if you want to read it. I treated it with utmost respect. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't own this, man. I can't mess this thing up. But I remember loaning some VHS tapes that I recorded of music to a dude. And after a month, I'm like, dude, are you done with those? He's like, yeah. And it took me like well over a month to get them back finally. And when I got him back, we went out to his car, and his car was one of those trash pits. And it's like behind the passenger seat under a bunch of shit. He's digging them out, and they're covered like in,
McDonald's fried crumbs.
Exactly. And I'm like, yeah, I just felt like punching this dude in the mouth. It's like, never, ever ask for anything else.
Yeah. Also too, when I was a kid, I moved around a lot. In the span of about 3 years, me and my mother moved quite a bit. I mean, Texas, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, back and forth to California, all in the span of like 3 years. And so during that, what happened was a lot of my things, my toys, all that stuff, would end up like freaking disappearing, man, because you move and things just randomly like disappear. And one thing that taught me was to really take care of your stuff, like, because you may not have it, due to circumstances beyond your control. What happened to me here not too long ago. But so it really made me come to treasure the things that I do have, you know.
Let me ask you, was that some of that play in that you move so much and you can, and all that comes along with that, was the stuff that you had, like your records and all that and your toys, was that like more important to you at that time? Because it was like, hey, this is with me all the time, everywhere I go. The stuff, the stuff that did make it with you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little bit of that feeling because I grew up with my grandparents who didn't drive, and we kind of lived in a rural area. So I went to school and then come home, and then I was done for the day. I had
Mm-hmm.
I had friends maybe 3 or 4 miles away. Occasionally we'd get together, but it was more so you had to entertain yourself, and you had
Right.
your stuff was your entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm absolutely. One of my prized possessions as a kid was from the movie Alien, which to this day is still my favorite film. And I begged my mother for this for Christmas out of the Sears catalog, was the Alien doll, the 18-inch action figure, right?
Yeah.
And I begged her for this thing, and I don't know why, because the movie scared the crap out of me. Like I used to have nightmares about this damn creature, and for some reason I wanted it. Like I had to have it, and every night, so she got it for me, and every night I would put this freaking doll in my dresser drawer because I could not go to sleep with it sitting on the dresser. And then every morning I'd take him out and prop him back up, because he was all cool during the day, but at night, man, I had to put him away. And he was one of the pieces that went missing. And I don't know why, but that just crushed me. It crushed me. And to this day, I think that thing now goes for like almost $2,000.
Wow.
Right. If you can find one in the box, it's like $2,000. I would love to have one again, but I treasured that thing when I was a kid, man. I used to play with it all the time. And that's one of those things where, to somebody else, it's like no big deal. It's just a toy or whatever. But to you, because you've spent so much time with it, you've created a bond, with a material thing, right?
Yeah. Now, let me ask, what is it with collectors like us that like hold on and normal people just like, I don't need this anymore, and can move on and don't think about it, and they may see it. Yeah, I have a friend like that, a close friend, and it's just like, he's a big music guy, but he doesn't care about having a collection as long as he can hear the music, and he's moved on to streaming and all that, and he's happy. But I'm like, I gotta have it. I gotta have the, I think the physical copy of it.
Right. No, that's a really good subject. And I think the reason is, well, for me, and I'm sure for others too, it's kind of like what I said, is that you build certain people, like us, for example, build a bond or this like emotional attachment to this material thing. Okay. And I think the reason for that is because when you have that material thing, okay, since we are in the VC, let's talk about a record. So when you have a record, you can, obviously play that record and enjoy it, but also just owning it, you can hold it or whatever, and you have memories that you revisit by that material thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I cannot not look at the cover of Maiden Number of the Beast and not just be flooded with years of memories, Yeah. Now, does it have to be the record? Can it be a poster? Not really, because the record has everything that's what I was exposed to that record was that record. So that's the important piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's almost like there things in our collection or any collector, baseball cards, what have you, is they're almost like little steps or bricks in your life. Maybe, I guess, is part of it, but it's the bond that we build with these things.
Music is the biggest one. I mean, I collect other stuff, but music is like, it kind of defines my life. Like I can look, like you're saying with that Maiden album and all that, I can think of a period of time in my life and it automatically flashes to me what I was into musically at that time, what I was listening to. Yeah, it's definitely in the blood. It's a gene of some sort. But like I can look back through my life and just how everything winds, and I or associate music with every point of my life, what was going on, even to a point of probably 95 to about 2000. I was almost not paying attention to any music, listening to some old. I wasn't buying anything. New music just went to shit and everything, and I just kind of gave up. And then I dove back in early 2000s, you know, picking some stuff up, and VC pops up and all that. But it's crazy, man. It's just how, like, I don't do that with anything else. Like with movies or TV shows, I'll watch an old movie and it's like, oh, that's from, you know, 81. And I'm like, wow, I was like, you know, this old. That's so long ago. And I kind of remember seeing this probably 5 years after it come out and all that. But not with music, man. It's like if you say 1980, 1981, automatically comes to mind British Steel. Yeah, right. I mean, you know, it's crazy, man, how intertwined music is with my memory of my life.
Right. You know, and if you think about it, to a lot of us, I'm sure, like for me, your parents kind of teach you that, but you don't realize it. I remember my father working in the garage, working on his cars and stuff, and always listening to stuff like the Beatles, the 50s doo-wop, to all that stuff. And I used to think, God, Dad, you got to get with the times, man. Like, you really need to, like, branch out in your music, you know. But that was his life, right? You know, that was his memories. That's, you know. But I remember thinking back then, like, man, God, this stuff sounds so old, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. Now I get it, you know.
That's something I kind of struggle with a little bit as get older, and it's just like, is this modern music really that bad, or is it just I can't get into it? And part of me thinks it sucks. Yeah, it's just bad. But part of it's just like, nah, it's not built for me, I guess, you know, like when we were kids, that stuff was built for us. So it's kind of weird.
I've always kind of had this theory that, like, as human beings or whatever, you have this range of your life from your preteen to about the time you're 20, that I think you are very susceptible to being groomed for whatever you're intaking. You know what I mean? Like, our brains really consume so much in that time span that kind of make you who you are. Once you kind of get into your mid and later 20s, you're already done. I mean, you've already established your likes and dislikes, and that term became a man or whatever. You've built that window of consumption, okay? And so you already have your established foundation of what you like, okay? From movies to any kind of entertainment. What kind of style of car you like, what kind of style of clothing you like, what, you know, all that stuff. So anything new beyond that point, you're always going to be comparing that to what you have in your wheelhouse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't match it, you don't like it because it's not you, you know?
Yeah, I've thought about that too. And I think that's that, you know, 10 to 22 era, that window, whatever it is also when you don't have a job, basically.
Right.
You don't have a mortgage. You don't have kids. You don't have a car to worry about. You don't have shit to worry about. So it's like you're so free and you're experimenting, doing stuff, not just music, just life in general.
Exactly.
But I don't know about you, but when I first bought Peace of Mind by Maiden, I played the living crap out of that album. Now, the last newer album I bought, maybe 2 or 3 times, and then something else come in, and then something else come in. That got shelved, and then I checked out something old. You're not hearing that continuously to where it's like embedded in you, imprinted on your head, your brain. You know what I mean?
Right. You take out Peace of Mind now and put it on the turntable.
You know,
and number one, you're excited because you know what you're about to revisit. And it isn't just the music, it's the memories behind that music. It's something that's familiar that you know, where you take a new record, whether it's a band you like or not, or whatever, and you've been waiting for the new album to come out. You know, Halloween's getting ready to drop a new record. I'm excited for that. Am I expecting Keeper of the Seven Keys? No fucking way, because nothing could ever match the memories I've got built to that record, right? So when you play something new, you don't have any memories with it. It's a brand new experience, you know. There's it's like, you know, putting on a brand new pair of jeans or putting on the ones you've had for 5 years that are broken in and comfortable, and you know, it's that kind of thing.
Let me ask you, does a new Halloween album stick with you? You may dig it, you may love it, but does it stick with you as much as those early albums?
No way.
But you keep trying, right? Every time they put a new one out, you're excited and you're like, it's Halloween, man. I love Halloween. I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's not that I will buy it, I'll spin it, and then put it away and then never play it again. But a lot of that, I think, is almost excitement just for the fact that it's still happening. They're still going. They are offering some new stuff. However, I will say this, there's been things that have come out that were new, let's say 10 years ago, right? That were new and exactly like we're talking about, that now I can and will play and go, I've got memories to that now, you know?
Right.
So
there's a couple that have done that for me. Well, kind of let me explain where I'm at now. And I was there too, man. New Priest coming out, new Maiden, new Overkill, New Testament, all that stuff. It was like, sweet Jesus, all the big boys are back. The stuff I grew up with, they're putting new albums out. And I love some of that stuff. Like when Accept picked up, what's his name from TD Quick or whatever. Yeah. That first album they did with him, I freaking loved, man. It was awesome. And the first Testament kind of there 10 years ago that come out when Culling had come back. It was great. But then I kept buying them in that first Overkill around that era too. But then they just kept releasing stuff and I was buying them. It was like sweet New Testament, new Overkill, new Anthrax. And it was like, after a while, it was like, none of this stuff is clicking. And
they were putting it out faster than you could build a relationship with.
Exactly. And faster than they did back in the day, even.
Sure. Yeah.
And finally I hit the wall and I'm like, I'm out. I'm done. And some of this is because of, I don't want to get into this rabbit hole really, but because of digital recording, which I fucking hate. You know what I mean? And everything kind of sounds the same after a while. You know, there's something to be said with being in a studio recording music and not in the bass player's bedroom, extra bedroom or basement or whatever. But anyways, I hit the wall with that stuff and I stopped buying new stuff. Like I haven't got the last couple Testaments, last couple Overkill. I got the last Judas Priest. I haven't spun it yet. It's still sealed.
You haven't listened to Firepower yet?
Wow. I got the last Anthrax. Haven't spun that yet either. And that was kind of when that Anthrax album came out. That was kind of it. I'd hit the wall and it's like, yeah, I'm done. And it kind of hurt to do that, but now it doesn't hurt at all. Like new stuff comes out and it's like I have no interest in it. So, and I hate to say that. And again, a lot of it's because of it doesn't click with me and I don't like the production and how they're doing stuff. But what is weird, I can go back and listen to an old 80s metal album that I've never heard before when it gets reissued. And that's what I'm after now. And I dig it because it's that era, that sound. I can go back and listen to some old 70s rock album, some band I'd never heard of, hard rock album, and I dig it, some old 70s punk, It's something from that era. It's more so the sound and all that. And
it's from your era. That's why. Yeah.
And it sucks because all those bands are my bands that are putting stuff out, Anthrax and Overkill and all that. And I just can't. I can't get it.
You can't keep up. You can't keep up. That's exactly my point when I've talked about things where, like, okay, this new album's coming, that new album's coming. This time around in my collection that I've been rebuilding and whatnot, I've gotten very, very particular about what I'm buying. First off is buying things that the things that I miss the most, that obviously are going to get played. And other things, like I used to buy, like, let's say I really like one album by, I'm just going to use this and as a total example. Let's say I really like an album by Blood Rock. I like this one album, right? But if I'm in a used record store, I find copies of 3 other albums. I'd buy them just because I love that one album.
That's a good subject right there. The completist thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have that, and do you still have it now? Because you're kind of starting over to an extent.
I have it with certain bands. Yeah. But these are also bands where I know the complete discography.
Mm-hmm.
I have memories with the complete discography. You know what I mean?
Right.
Those are the ones that I do it with, but would I do it now like I used to? Absolutely not. Because if it's one thing that I learned is that, number one, I don't have the bank account that Donald Trump has, right? So, for example, the item that I texted you last night,
mm-hmm.
that was not cheap for me.
Yeah.
Okay. That was expensive.
Oh, yeah.
One piece. Okay. $300 for one piece. I could have bought what is that? 4 times 12, roughly 12 new random, like you said, Overkill and Testament and all these new things, and I could, cool. I've got quantity, but now I'm more about, when it comes to my collection and what's in my collection, I want quality for what I truly love.
Right.
You know what I mean?
More
so I'd rather have that one piece in my favorite band than 12 random other things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And that's one thing with collecting. Collecting anything, really, it evolves and changes. And like you were talking about Aaron, Metal Theologian, last night, how he's like, okay, I'm diving into 90s rap.
Right.
Like, what? And then it's like, okay, I'm diving into stoner. Okay, that's cool. I can kind of identify with that. Okay, I'm diving into whatever. And that's what's kind of cool with collecting different stuff. You get into different moods, but also collecting differently. Like, hey, I'm at a time I was like completist kind of collecting. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I really dig this album. I need to get some more by this band. They have 10 albums. Okay, this album's great. These 3 are really good. These other last bit are like, they're not that really good, but they go with, I need that discography on the shelf. Never know. I might need to pull one out.
Yeah.
I've tried to kind of stop doing that a little bit too, other than metal, 80s metal in particular. There's something completist about that in me where it's like, I want to have every album that band I have one album from put out, even if they all suck.
Yeah. Now, do I get envious though of someone that does do that? Sure. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, that's, everybody wants everything, right?
Yeah.
We all want, man, every heavy metal record ever pressed. We all want that, right? But when you look at the reality of it, I envied you. I was really like, man, that is fucking cool. And that's when you were like, I want to get everything that Ebony pressed,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, man. And I remember watching when you finally showed, I think at that point you had like 99% of like everything. And I was like, dude, that is so fucking cool. And it made me go, man, I want to go get everything Ebony ever pressed, but I have to look at now. I'm kind of thankful with what happened to me because it's given me that opportunity to now build my collection in a different way that I'm much more proud of what I have now than what I had before.
It's probably more personal now, isn't it?
Oh, much more personal. And
you're not just feeding a collection, you're actually collecting for personal reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's definitely, I mean, there's people, with one collector, it might be like, dude, I've got, 10,000 records. And I'll go, okay, show me your priest and maiden. Oh, that's it? Okay, that's but to that person, they may not need more than that. You know what I mean? So yeah, a collection, whatever your collection is, it's you and how you want to make it. But kind of what this series is going to be about is how we do that, and the difference between, people that just hoard and people that build and maintain a collection. There's a big difference there, I think.
Yeah. Well, you touched on that before we went live about hoarding compared to collecting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said, when you watch those hoarder TV shows, it's just like, there's no rhyme or reason to all the shit this person has in their house, basically 99% of the time. Right. To where, people like us collecting it's more about, like we were talking about, curating the collection, keeping stuff you really want, moving stuff on. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm sure you're the same way. I'm anal about it all. It's got to be an alphabetical. Everything's got a section. It goes chronological and the whole nine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because my wife will give me crap sometime about messing with me more so than anything. All the stuff down here, and I'm like, "You're a hoard," she calls it. I'm like, "It's not a hoard. I can name a record. I can pull it out and have it in your hand in 5 seconds."
Yeah.
And there's thousands of records down here, so and everything's in order.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was the same way with comics. I mean, I had thousands of comics too, and everything was very, very in order, and I could find anything, as I went.
So let me ask you this, because this is something I was thinking of is, and I know you addressed this many times, whether on video or via text, but you've made the comment, and dude, we're so brothers in this area, and that is that we're getting old, man. And I think over the past, pretty much ever since I turned like 42, and I'm 51 now. So in the past 9-10 years is when I've really started feeling that, like, wow, like, I'm not really 26 anymore. I want to be, but I'm not. And I look at things like, you look at nowadays where the average man in this country lives to be, if we're lucky, 82 to 85, right in that range. So you do the math on that, and if my health remains and I'm lucky enough, I got maybe 25 more years, right? You start doing the crazy math like that. How much time do I got left?
Yeah.
How many records am I going to spend in that span of 20 years? How quick did the past 20 years go by? How many records did I play during that time? Which ones am I going to play? You start looking, and that is not a fun rabbit hole to go down. But sometimes you do kind of want to stop and look at that when you're deciding what you're going to continue to buy in a collection.
I totally agree. And that's, again, like the last 3 or 4 years, maybe even 3 or 4 years, I've cut way back. And it's more about, like, right now I'm into the bootleg thing. And we were talking about that the other day where I capped that when I started doing it. It's like, I want 80s stuff and back. Like, I don't want, like you sent me the thing for the Maiden. I was like, is that newer? You know, he's like, yeah, it's 2000, whatever. It's like, that's cool, but I don't collect that era. You know what I mean? I love Maiden and I love that album from that era, but I don't really want it. And I'm trying to do,
be able to go,
and that's hard. That's hard to do, but that's what I'm kind of trying. Hey, highlight Mr. Bizarro's.
The 10,000.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. One that I am struggling with.
That is exactly my point.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I, over the last 2 to 3 years, whatever, like I said before, I've went through and pulled out probably 2,000 records and gotten rid of. I was going to a friend was doing a record show, and I did really good, you know, selling them there. But I got to the point, I was like, man, this is great. And then I got to the point, okay, I need to pull more out to get rid of. And it's harder every time I go through to pull more stuff out. It's like, and I ask myself, when am I going to spend this again? Will I spend this again? I don't know, but I better hang on the collection. You know what I mean? It's just hard, man.
Yeah. And that is, I think that leads us to another subject, and that is just the inner battle that you have with yourself as a collector, right? You know, people that aren't a collector will not understand that, you know, but there is, I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but I definitely have an inner battle I go through as a collector with what I want to add or how I want my collection to go, you know, whenever I want to buy something. Or perfect example is you show a record on a video. Man, this is killer. I love this. You guys got to check this out, blah, 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 blah. Like early on in the VC, every time somebody showed a record, man, I had to go find it, you know? And
dude, the fucking VC was, we'll have to get into that here in a second, because that was a wallet killer jumping into this fucking shit. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, so now I ask myself, it's like, wow, that sounds cool, man, you know, but now before I just jump online or run down to the record store or whatever the case, it's like, you know what, let me see if, I don't know, to him that might be really good and that might be really kick-ass and badass, and you know, but I'm going to check that out first. And so, you know, I'll go find a video or something, you know, and listen to some of it first and then go, yeah, that is kind of cool, but, you know, I don't know, do I want to drop another 25 on that, or do I really want to get that next item on my hit list that I've already built for the collection, you know, and try to stay focused, you know, and maintaining that focus and not being diverted from focusing on your collection to something else is a tough thing to do. It really is a tough thing to do.
I've kind of, other than, that's totally, yeah. So we all kind of think about that. But I've kind of tried to do, like, if I see something, it's like, oh, that looks cool, I better go grab it before it's gone. I've tried to say, okay, hold off, little cooling minute here. Let's wait till, you know, tomorrow morning or this evening or something. Let me check it out and blah, blah, blah. Where before it was like, oh, got to grab that, you know, it's going to be gone. Other than, you know, if it's something immediate, like that Kiss boot popped up. I think I sent you the thing. It was like, yeah, I'm getting this. I know I want this.
Right.
But I tried to give a little cooling off time in between when somebody shows something that's awesome, and I definitely want to check it out instead of just jumping on stuff automatically anymore. And that's helped a lot.
Yeah.
You know, but like I was saying, the VC, man, I mean, I don't know about you, but once it got rolling and we were all in here showing stuff every fucking day, man, it was like packages were rolling, man.
Dude, once the metal part of the VC started kind of becoming its own, like, you know, there's the VC and then there's the prog VC, the country VC, the metal VC, right? You know, and so once you kind of find your niche, right, and you got the guys you always watch and your VC, right, dude, I had a fucking, you know, those black and white composition books we used in high school, the notebooks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, you froze up for a second.
Oh, okay, maybe it was me. I had one of those I kept on my desk, dude, with pages of freaking records that guys were showing that I'm like, oh, I gotta get that, I gotta get that, I gotta get that.
Right.
You know? And that was back when, you know, I do a lot of drives up to Sacramento, Berkeley, San Francisco. So I'd go out digging all the time, you know, and I'd take that thing with me because I couldn't remember them all. There was no way, you know. I look at that now and go, if I couldn't remember it, it probably wasn't that damn important, you know.
I do that too. Sometimes somebody will show something and I'll be like, oh, I want to check that out tonight. And I get home, you know, I might see it at work or something on my phone. I get home and I'm like, what did I want to check out? Must not have been too important. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Which is good. And then I don't end up ordering something. But yeah, man, when the VC got rolling and it was next thing you know, we all had our each other's emails and then it was texts and all that. And it was just like daily, man, stuff. You're getting information about, hey, this site has this record. Hey, this guy's got this one or whatever. And it was just like, and that was part of, I mean, I don't want to blame that all on that, but I definitely I got burnt out, you know, doing the videos where I took that break, but that was part of it too. It was like, I got to step back, man. You know, I got 2,000 records over here in the just in pile, you know, there's a problem. So I had to take a break and that definitely helped, but
yeah, the falling prey to where you are bringing in more and faster than you can actually consume.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we've all done it. Oh, you were just talking about it. You bought Firepower, have yet experienced that record, right? So, and that album is, Jesus, what is that? Like 3 years old now?
Probably, yeah.
You know, so, you know, you can, there's it's kind of like the honeymoon phase, right? You know, so you got this new girl starts working at the place you're working at, right? You're a single guy and you're like, damn, she's hot. Man, you guys take out a date. You go out on a date, man, you're consumed by this girl. She's beautiful. Oh, I'm so excited and da-da-da-da-da. And oh my God, I can't wait to be with her and all this other stuff. You know, there's that honeymoon period, right? Where, you know, going out and buying records is like you come home with a bag and a stack like this and you're like, oh my God, I love it. And then before you know it, man, they're like up on the shelf. You've never bothered to play them. They're just there. And you know, that instant rush is gone like that, you know.
Yep.
There's the rush that a collector goes through of just purchasing, just buying, just getting more, you know. And
that's another thing with collecting. There's I don't know about you, but for me, there's a hunter mentality of it, especially when I was out digging all the time. I don't do that. I don't go out digging anymore. I just, except for one store, I go maybe once a month. But dude, it was something about, I couldn't pass a record store, you know. It's like,
because there might be something there.
Yeah.
Right.
And I had to be the first person at the flea market, you know, when I was doing the fleas all the time. It was, and if somebody got into a box that some guy just pulled out of the back of his truck and had a box full of records, if they got into it before me, I was pissed. How did I miss getting into that box first? You know what I mean? But I mean, do you have that hunter mentality? You got to go out and find this stuff and bring it home, or
the old thrill of the hunt? Absolutely. You know, that's part of collecting, is not just getting it, it's the effort you put in finding it. Okay. It's the old treasure hunt thing, man. You know, there's probably, you know, let's say, you know, you're going to a desert island and you've got a treasure map, right? And you spend 3 days, man, trying to figure out this treasure map and getting it figured out. And then you know, after 3 days, you finally figure out where it's buried and you open it up and it's fucking empty. Right. And you go, well, that fucking sucks. But dude, that was a fun fucking 3 days. Right? You had more fun just being able to go, I found the box,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Like we'd go on vacations and I would scope out, you know, not just where we were going to, where the record stores were at, but along the way where the record stores were at. It was just nuts, man. And I have to admit that stuff was funner or more fun back in the early 2000s and the early 90s, whenever shit was cheap. Nobody wanted records, you know what I mean? If you could go around, and that's where a lot of this stuff came from, you know, before this vinyl explosion, when you could go to a flea market and buy a Master of Puppets for $1, you know? And guys that come in here and actually see my collection and see 5 copies of Master of Puppets original pressings are like, what the fuck? That's why, because I was out doing that and picking them up for $1 or $2 back in the day. But then, and some of that stuff I quit digging now also. And I noticed somebody mentioned that about people are more knowledgeable and it's easier to collect now. I don't think it is easier to collect now, because
it is not easier to collect now.
Yeah.
Well,
people are way more knowledgeable and the prices are through the goddamn roof. And whoever's paying these prices are just, I don't get it, man.
Yeah. Here, not to cut you off, but actually it is easier to collect now. It's at the click of a mouse. Okay. It's much easier. Okay. If you go, man, you know what? I'm going to build a Metallica vinyl collection. You can do it in one night, dude.
You're right. As far as that goes, monetarily, it's not.
Exactly. Right. That's the difference. Okay. There used to be fulfillment, mental happiness and fulfillment where, you know, I used to love to go, dude, look what I found for $2.
Hell yeah. Okay. That was the fun, man.
That was the fun, right?
Hell yeah.
And I mean, found. I didn't go on Amazon and look what I scored for $2. Look what I found for $2, because I went out digging, found it at an antique store, buried behind this or whatever, and no one ever marked it up because no one knew better. Well, now everybody knows better, and now it's not hidden anymore because everybody knows better, and now it's, you know, $30 because everybody now knows. But you can get it. You can get 20 of them now at the click of a mouse.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Van said, "Wait, what was that?" Zeppelin.
This is the bass tab addition to the Zeppelin 3 and 4, Vance.
That's funny.
Wait, what was that?
But yeah, but maybe that's the old man get off my lawn in me, where it's like it was funner back then, more fun to go digging everywhere, you know.
It was the hunt.
And it was affordable, and you could go out. I could go to the flea market back then with $50 and come home with, you know, 50 albums or 70 albums, you know, 50 cents a piece, whatever. But those days are gone. And people were like, yeah, but look at how much these albums are going for, you know, in your collection and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm not in it for that. I don't really care about that. I'm in it to be able to collect the records, you know, and I can't collect them when they're $100 a piece. I'm not paying $100 for a record.
Yep.
You know, and I get on eBay and Discogs and see some of the prices on this stuff. And it's just like, LJ yesterday sent me a closed auction on eBay for a Slaughter album, the first one. And it ended at $130. Who in the fuck paid $130 for the first Slaughter album on vinyl?
You know who paid that $130? That person we were talking about earlier that gets caught up in this guy showed this. I've got to have that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's who got caught up in that.
I don't know.
$130, you know?
I can't do that. I can't justify doing that. Which is weird. I can justify going to a record store and dropping $100 and coming home with a bunch of records, but I can't justify dropping $100 and coming home with one record. But either way, I dropped $100. So I'm stupid either way. But
you know, I don't know, man. The way I look at that is it really depends. You know, the one I showed you last night, to me, that's one of those items that, like, you know what? This is my only opportunity to do that. That's not one of those things that's going to be around. You know, it's not going to be repressed. It's rare. It's, you know, that kind of warrant. It's my favorite band.
Oh, dude, I'm totally, don't take that the wrong way. I'm not giving you shit for doing it. I mean, I've spent 80, 90 bucks on a record, but like maybe twice. I just can't do it.
You know, here's a perfect example of what you're talking about is, I don't know what it is. Go.
Thanks for everybody jumping in the chat. We're not doing a very good job of paying attention to everything.
Damn, now I don't even. Oh, there it is. I don't know what the big deal is about this damn record.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, this comes out on Record Store Day. I'm like, oh, yeah, cool, man. I'll get that. And then I'm watching, like, you know, the Facebook strings and all that. And it's like, dude, people were buying this things like $100. I'm like, are you serious? I almost thought to myself, I'm going to sell it. Because if someone's willing to pay $100, you can have it. You can have it because, yeah, cool record, but I'll take the $100.
Okay,
you know,
you just brought up, you just brought up two subjects there. So let's start for me with Record Store Day. Instant collectibles to me, I don't get it. It's like, I hate that they're doing that shit, man. It kind of helped out record stores to begin with, but now it's just turned into dog eat dog. You know, who got it, who can flip it for 10 times as much.
It's gotten to where it divides now. It divides the collector from
the investor.
The money maker. Yeah, exactly. That's what it's done.
Yeah,
I like this one.
Oh,
you think
there's no probably in that, Aaron?
Yeah, he has, and I've mentioned this before. He's got this one fucking record, and I know he knows what I'm going to say. That the English name, I guess, is Varvar, but it's this Russian fucking record, right?
Yeah.
It's cool as hell, man, dude. It sounds like it's this band that recorded this thing in a fucking cave. It sounds evil. It's fucking just the most awesome fucking record. And he had shown it on a video, but he played it, so I got to hear it, right? It immediately clicked with me, dude. I found the digital files for it. I actually created a CD myself for it. But to buy that record, dude, is like, there was one guy that had one on Discogs, and it was like almost $3,000.
Oh my God.
You know, and I'm like, I'll never own that fucking record. Right. I would never pay that.
Nah.
I wish I could, but I would never. You know,
all you can do is hope for a reissue.
So, but a day before I watched Aaron's video, that record meant nothing to me. I didn't know about it. I cared less.
Right.
You know, now I'm like, oh my God, I got to find that fucking record, you know.
All right. Well, you mentioned the Slave to the Grind and how it was going for what, like $100, like immediately.
Something like that, yeah.
And you're thinking, hey, I'll sell this for that.
Sell it. Yeah.
Let me ask you, do you look at your records and think, I paid $3 for this, $10, $20, or whatever. This thing's going for $200 now. Does that make you think I'm going to sell it?
I would say currently no, because of like how we were talking about how I built my collection this time around, with buying records. Pretty much every record that I have bought now means something to me. But like that Skid Row, you know, the reason I thought that, you know, that's new.
Yeah.
You know, and it's no big deal. Number one, it's not that big of a record to me, but it is Skid Row. I do have some history with that band and that record. But, you know, personally, I'd rather have a original pressing. Okay. You know, but so for something like that, when that happened, I did think about it then, but do I regularly go through and go, oh man, I could sell this for this, I should just do that? Not now, but before, you know, if I had my other collection, yeah, I probably would now, because I had so much stuff in there that it didn't mean that much to me. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if I've got something that doesn't, you know, have that much meaning to me, and I find out that it's worth this much, yeah, I'd probably sell it. Absolutely.
I'm weird with it. It's like, and don't get me wrong, like I said, where I was pulling stuff out to get rid of, I did pull, like, I got rid of the Cure, that kind of stuff. I'm not sorry, I'm not a Cure fan, but and I picked them up over the years, and I sold them, got, you know, fairly decent money out of them. But I have other stuff, like one that comes to mind, I think I've shown this in a video years ago, was I bought it because it was weird and looked hand done. It was a band called the Cardboards out of Pittsburgh from '81, and they were like a synthy, punky, poppy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they did this one thing and put it out. And like I said, I $5 or something, whatever I paid for that. That thing, I've seen that thing go for as much as $700 now. You know, I think it average is like maybe 300, but it's still in a collection, and it's not something I may listen to it every 5 years or something, if that. But I think about that too. It's like, why am I hanging on to this? I could sell this, but it's something screwy in my head with the collecting thing. It's like, nah, you got a good deal on it. It's not hurting you for having it sit here. And I know if I sold it, it would bug the piss out of me. You know, and I know I would never get one back. You know,
I had that.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Like,
so let me tell you something, Greeno, real quick. So let me tell you something about a guy that had that. Okay. There's a lot of things that I had that I don't have anymore. There's a lot of things, though, that I now have that I didn't have back then. So the whole that mental thing of like, God, I had that. You will, if you let it go, this album that you're talking about, this Cardboards, if you let that go, you still had it. You enjoyed it. You had it. And I'm not saying go sell it either, but I'm just saying if you did, if that's the decision you end up coming to, it's not like if you let that one thing go, it's not going to affect your collection. It's not, the world's not going to end. You're, you know, nothing bad is going to come of it, except probably something new for your collection that probably might even have more meaning than the one you're letting go of if you do it right, you know, and you give some thought to it, not just do it, you know.
Yeah.
So
it's so weird. But I think I've told you before that I sold my comics.
Yeah.
And that was, I had almost 90 long boxes. There was a lot of comics and a lot of big keys and all that. And when I decided to do that, that was hard, man. But when I actually made the decision and put it out there and people started coming and buying stuff, I got into it. I was almost running like a little comic shop until finally somebody was like, I'll take everything left. And we made a big deal and off he went. And it didn't affect me like I thought it was going to. When it was done, it was almost like a
relief.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. However, I do miss them a little bit, not enough to where I jump back into it. And I have jumped back into it in a different way. But I watch comic videos as much as I watch record videos these days. And I see him showing all this stuff. It's like, yep, had that. You know what I mean? And it's weird, but it was cool. I mean, when they finally went, my wife was a little like, are you okay? You know, and I'm like, yeah, it's good. You know, they're gone. And, you know, I got more than I thought I would get out of everything, and I'm happy. And, you know,
I think that here's another point, which
fucking Aaron right there's why Aaron is a bad influence.
Yeah, money's still in print. Cardboard's record isn't.
Right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, he's that little red guy on your shoulder. You know? But this is another part of being a collector, and that is when you're a collector of different things. I bet if you didn't have your record collection and all you had was your comic collection, if you were just a comic collector and you did that, it would have been a lot harder.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay.
But you still have a collection. You still collect something, right?
Yeah.
That, when you look at a collection like we have, you see the fruits of your work and effort and everything else on top of all the sentimental stuff we talked about earlier and the memories and all that other stuff. But just, it's your Eiffel Tower that you built, right? You still have an Eiffel Tower, you had two, Yeah. So if you had just the one and we're letting that go, that would be much more detrimental, I think.
Yeah, you're probably right. Because I'd stopped with the comics because I can't do both. I couldn't do both records and comics. And I'd stopped with comics 10, 12 years ago, 15 years ago. So it was easier to let those go. It would have been harder to let the records go and keep the comics. But like I said, I'm still kind of doing it in a way. And I feel like I'm doing the comics the way you are now doing, building your music collection back up. Because, and I have this one laying here, I just finished it the other day. I started doing the omnibus things,
right?
What I mean? Which is, it's killer because like here's all the issues that are in here, and I probably had half of these, 3/4 of these, and I could never find the other ones, or they were too expensive. And now, for the price of one of those, I can buy this book and have everything. Yeah, and it's a like,
and in a lot less space.
Yeah, and there's 4 volumes of this, so it's like a completist thing in me too. That's like, hey, I can buy these 4 volumes and have 150 of these comics, and most of them I couldn't buy back in the day. But yeah. I'm going at comics that way now, and I'm only buying what the old stuff that they're doing like this that I loved. What I mean? I don't buy hardly anything that's new, and it's just like I just want to get what I really dug and keep it that way.
Yeah, and I think we've all done this. I've done it with comics. I'm sure you've done it with comics. I know we've done it with records, and that is when those opportunities come along where it's like, wow, I can buy 5 long boxes of comics off this guy for like $100, right? And there's like, $6,000 worth of comics there, and you do it because the deal is so good, and it's like, oh my God, and I've got to do this. And you may have this is what's happened to me anyway, like you'll have that initial intention of, I'm going to pick out what I want, and then I'm going to sell off the rest and make some money, and da 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 da. Yeah, next thing I know, those 5 long boxes have been embedded into the rest of the collection. Yeah, or, you never did do what you were going to do. Now they're just part of your collection, right?
Right. I used to kind of do that with records. You would buy stuff and pick stuff up. Like I had the first few Garth Brooks records I bought for like nothing. I fucking hate Garth Brooks, but I found them and they were mint, and I knew they were worth some money, so I took them and trade, to a record store and got some cool stuff. But I don't even do, most of the record stores around here, the used stuff is either I already have or just kind of crap, and then it's all 75% new stuff, and they're not carrying the import reissue 80s metal stuff that I'm looking for. So I don't even do that crap anymore, Hey, the vinyl archivist. Another thing is the bottom going to drop out of the vinyl market? All I can say about that is, please, I fucking hope records are everywhere. I hope they're selling them at yard sales, flea markets. I know it's a double-edged sword or whatever you want to say, but it's like this shit's out of control, man, with prices and just it's insanity.
Yep.
All the way down to new stuff. When you're reissuing a Fleetwood Mac album and charging $25 for it, $30, there's something wrong there, man.
Yeah.
That album sold millions and millions and millions of copies. They're out there.
Dude, that album lived in dollar bins for years.
Yeah.
Years, you know. And once again, as a collector, you know, one of the first things I want to say is, if I knew now what I knew then, I'd have bought all 30 copies in the dollar bins, you know. But you can't do that. You can't go back and do that, you know. But to the question, is it going to fall out? Everything has a cap, man. You know, yeah, I don't know if it's going to fall out, but it is going to peak, and we might be there where it's peaked. And then the trendiness of, I buy vinyl records. I spin vinyl records. Okay, I'm in college and I have a vinyl collection. That's going to wean, right? But I think there's always going to be real vinyl record collectors, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's not going to be as trendy of a collectible as it is now. No.
Dude, it's went so far beyond what I thought it would do. You know, when the vinyl boom started again, it was like, this is kind of cool, you know, and it was cool to see stuff getting reissued, but like rare stuff and all.
Right.
And I think that will kind of continue, because that's a very, very small market, you know, like the stuff I'm getting, the 80s reissue metal stuff, when they're pressing 300 to 500 copies, it's, you know, there's not going to be a bunch of people buying that. But anyways, it's like, but these prices, man, it's like over the last 5 years, probably, I've just thought, okay, we're at the top. It can't go anymore. And it just keeps going. And the prices just keep going through the roof, where it's like, if I was young, I wouldn't collect records. I wouldn't get into this hobby, because it's not affordable.
It's like real estate. It's like, now's not the time to buy, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Now's not the time to buy. Wait for the crash, you know?
Yeah. Which I've kind of been waiting on for a while. You know, we went through the first one and it was great, because you could buy, if you were still into vinyl records, you could buy all you wanted cheap.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of hoping that happens again.
It's like, you want to tell people, it's like, I'm thinking about becoming a record collector. It's like, no. You want to be a CD collector. Become a CD collector. Now's the perfect time to become a CD collector. You know, trust me, you'll thank me.
I've said that too. Yeah. Now my local record store charges $30 for a Thin Lizzy record. That sounds about right, man. That's why I stopped going and digging.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when I go out and see a Rat album for 20 or 25 bucks, and it's well used and all that, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah, dude, Rat Out of the Cellar, for example, to me will always be a $6.99 record.
Yeah,
that's just.
I agree.
That's just what it should be. $6.99, man. You know,
yeah.
Sealed maybe $9.99.
Right.
You know, that's how I see that record. But yeah, there's some stuff. The big thing that I noticed, I don't know what the fad is about this damn record, but Warrant Cherry Pie on Facebook, dude, people are spending huge amounts of money on that record, and I'm like, fucking why? I mean, what is it with that damn record, man? It's like a couple of guys get into a thing about it, and next thing you know, the whole community is like, gotta get a copy of Warrant Cherry Pie. Dude,
fear of missing out.
Clothes, I'm sorry, you know.
Yeah, but I realize that's coming from a guy sitting here that's been collecting records since the 70s and has a room full of them. I guess I can kind of say that about prices and bitching about back in my day. But at the same time, man, it's just fucking out of control, man. And I do feel sorry for people that are just getting into it. That I don't know how you're building collections. I don't get it. You're building very slowly, I would think. And you're probably not finding a lot of stuff that you want.
Right.
That you really want.
Yeah.
So, well, this turned into a kind of a bitch fit.
Well, that's all right. You know, this is just the first episode, like I said, and you know, we'll definitely get into a lot of other topics around collecting and the things we do, the things we don't. And, you know, I'm really interested in this age of my life, always being pretty much a collector. The things that go along with the hobby of being one, whatever you collect, you know, it's interesting to me. You know, everybody is cherry pie is not a grail. I don't care how bad anyone wants it.
What's the one above that? What the
Yeah.
hell is vaporwave?
Vaporwaves, you know, on Bandcamp. I think I know what he's talking about. I call it synthwave, not vaporwave,
Okay.
which I am actually a very large fan of. But so what that is there's a new genre of music that's not a new genre of music. What this genre is taking like kind of the 80s synth and new wave style, you know, and the whole 80s scene and vision of that style of music with like the neon of like Miami Vice and all this, and it's kind of creating this flashback genre of music, and a lot of the stuff is actually really killer, man.
I think I've seen a couple.
It's kind of like exactly what's happening with metal, with the new wave of traditional metal. It's kind of the same thing, but with synth pop and new wave. But yeah, it's you know, there's, you know, a lot of topics I would like to delve into when it comes to being a collector as we are, and how we purchase, strategies involved, how we maintain our collections. You know, we talked a little bit tonight about how we kind of form our collections, things like that. But I think just anybody that is a collector, I think, would have fun just watching us talk about this crap.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to get some other people joining in, and you know,
absolutely.
And maybe I mean, if I don't follow the community as much as I used to, but if you can think of any newer people that are kind of newer to collecting kind of our genres and all that, I'd be interested in hearing their side of it and their struggles with it now. I mean, I don't know. I feel for them.
Yeah. Yeah, Aaron, I'll be honest, man, out of all the records you've shown, which has been quite a few, and there are quite a few fucking awesome records that you've shown, but that record, dude, the sound on that record is just fucking amazing. I love what that record is, what it represents. So yeah, that's the one. If I could go to Aaron's house and pull any record, dude, that's what I'd walk out with. It may not be the rarest or most expensive, but it's the one I'd walk out with.
Aaron gets all of us eventually.
Oh,
what was the one? Was it Turkish? Had the monkey on the cover? God, I can never remember the name of that. But he got me on that one. It was like, I ended up buying a reissue of that. It was pretty fucking badass.
See, so here you go. I made this fucker myself.
Is that the one?
That's the album. So I actually made this CD.
It's never been reissued or anything?
No. Just so I could have a damn copy of this frickin' record.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Aaron, do you talk to Thomas, that Merciful Metal dude, outside of YouTube? Mustafa, that was the one. He might be kind of cool to get on, just see how he's doing. I've watched some of his videos. He's definitely pretty cool.
Which one's that?
Merciful Metal. Have you checked him out?
No.
He's overseas.
Let me write that down.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, I have noticed like Aaron. Speaking of Aaron, especially since he's on here,
Pokemon stream.
He was going through and kind of doing some culling of his collection with like some prog and krautrock and stuff like that. And, so that's the kind of stuff too, where it's like, I'm curious, like what gets, thanks about the CD comments, guys. When a collector gets to a point where you kind of start, and I know you did this too, where you went through and pulled a bunch of stuff and kind of, started to kind of fine tune the collection down and things like that. I think that's a whole other rabbit hole we could go down on how you come to that decision, why you came to that decision, the decisions you make about your collection, because you think normally you spend all your time growing your collection. To most collectors, you'd be like, what do you mean you're downsizing your collection? And I've seen other collectors take that like personal to them, like, oh, you can't downsize your collection.
Right. It's hard to get to that point. I mean, I kept thinking about it when my buddy decided to do the record show. That's what pushed me over the edge. It's like, I'm going to try this, see how it goes. And it went very well the first time. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this some more. And of course, we only got 2 in before the pandemic hit. So I'm hoping he'll kind of get it going again here soon. But and again, it was just like the comics. It wasn't as bad after I went in there and sold a bunch of stuff and probably spent 3/4 of what I made buying stuff right there at the guy next to me, who was a metal dealer that I know. But still, I come home with stuff I really wanted as opposed to stuff that was just sitting on the shelf. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect example. Do you remember anything major that you sold that you're now like, God, I shouldn't have sold that, man?
No, not really.
Yeah. Wow. Now, how about this? I think we'll end this on this question. Do you currently have anything in your collection that you have buyer's remorse over? Like, I should not have bought that. I regret buying that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's definitely some stuff. Those tend to be, but they're not big buyer's remorse. Those tend to be stuff I found cheap, or stuff like something new that looked kind of cool. Like I'm checking out jazz, so I'm picking up jazz from this place, and they tend to be like 13, 14, 15 bucks. And sometimes I'll, it tends to be that kind of stuff. And again, that's because I don't drop 50, 60, 100 bucks on a record. So, but yeah, definitely there's stuff in here that, damn, yeah, when I drop the needle and start listening to it, it's like, that's not what I expected. Shit. But,
well, so that though, but that's almost more kind of like experimentation, right? So you're buying knowing you don't know if you're going to like it or not, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the good old blind buys.
Yeah, the blind buy, right?
Yeah.
But is there anything that, I mean, you know exactly what it was you were buying, and you sprung for it, and then go, oh man, I probably shouldn't have got that.
I don't know if I have anything really like that, to where
I don't have that now, but I've had that in my collecting past. Absolutely, there's stuff that I had bought and went, oh man, I probably shouldn't have bought that.
Yeah, I mean, that's weird for me to answer because, like I say, I don't drop big money on anything, but definitely, I mean, that happens. I'll be let down by something, and it's not very often I'm like kick myself for buying it because, like I said, I don't spend a bunch on individual stuff, but at the same time, I'll be let down, be like, man, and then I'm in the okay, shit, I bought this, it's okay. It's not great. Probably not going to listen to it again. What do I do with it? Am I moving this on and am I hanging on to it? I get in those fights. Mm-hmm. And majority of the time it's like, just to make it easier, just put it away, shove it on the shelf. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Which I should be pickier with that, where it's like, I order something and, or buy something and spin it, and you're like, oh man, I don't like this. I need to get rid of it. Put it in the get rid of pile.
Yeah. You know, there's an old quote. I don't know if I want to get it right, but this is how I kind of remember it. Is comedian George Carlin used to do, part of his act was he would talk about what is it with our society, and we're a people that love to buy more shit. All we do is work hard. We go to work every day. We get up every morning and we go to work to earn money to buy more shit.
Yeah.
And so what happens when you buy your house and you fill it with all this shit that you bought, and you keep buying this shit? You buy a bigger house so you can buy more shit.
Right.
You know? And God, man, I must have seen that, God, when I was like a teenager, but that's always stuck with me, you know?
Yep.
And there are definitely, it's interesting. I've seen people's collections get to where their collection fits their house, like they're limited, right? Like the only way to grow your collection anymore is either go through and downsize some of what you have to create room so you can buy more shit to put in it, or you gotta get more fucking place to.
Yeah, I know that bit you're talking about, and Vance just said it's called stuff.
Yeah, stuff. Okay.
But I think of that too. And it's like, God, it's just like consuming stuff and buying more stuff. What am I doing? But then you think of, you only live once, man. Enjoy it. You know, get what you like and enjoy it. But there's a balance there that's hard to meet. And evidently, you guys know me. I'm not meeting the balance at all. But I think about it, and I need to do better with it. Words ruin music. Do you guys have any albums you keep sealed?
Oh. Yeah, there is. But I'll tell you why. The only reason I do is because I have multiples of it. And so I don't keep it sealed like probably many do, because, it's worth so much more if it's sealed. I keep it sealed just to make it different than the other ones in the fucking collection.
I'm
right. What it looked like when it was brand fucking new. You know?
Yeah. I'm right there with you on that. And I hate sealed records. The sealed records that I have, I've gotten real cheap. I won't buy old sealed records because 99% of the time they're warped. Yeah. And the ones that I do have, I bought like a collection or a box of records and they were in there. I got them really, really cheap. But the only reason I don't open them is I'm afraid to open them because I'm pretty sure they're going to be warped. Yeah. So I hate sealed records, and I don't get why anybody wants to buy old sealed records like that and keep them sealed.
Yeah. And I would never be one to buy a sealed record for the purpose of keeping it sealed.
Yeah.
No. Now, if I bought a sealed record and I already have multiple, but that's usually, like you say, it comes with other stuff. Like you buy a stack or a collection or something and it's in there.
Yeah.
And if I already have it or multiples of it or something, then I'll leave it sealed.
That's funny that come up because I'm dealing with that right now in my wackadoo head. I'm kind of going through the metal stuff and looking at the sealed stuff, and it's like, okay, this is a double, that's why that's sealed, and here's one that's sealed because I was afraid to open it. It's the only copy I got of it. An example is Anthrax's what was that greatest hits thing they did, like the Bees or whatever the hell.
Yeah, Attack of the Bees or something like that.
Killer Bees or something like that. I picked that up like years ago sealed, and I was afraid then to open it. But like I said, I got this thing going on in my head right now with all these sealed records. Not that there's a bunch of them, but there's definitely some in there. And I pulled that one out, and I'm like, I'm going to open it. Just fuck it. If it's warped, whatever, I don't care. I'll try it. I have that vinyl flat. Maybe I can flatten it out. That's a pain in the ass, but we'll try it. And I opened it, and it was fine. And I was so happy, man. It was like a good day, man. I pulled that record out, and I spun it. It's like flat as could be. It's like, sweet. And I got cocky, and I had a couple copies of the Hurricane EP.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the old, the melodic thing. And I thought, one of those are sealed. Let's open that up and see how it is. And I opened it up, and that son of a bitch was like, it's like, well, it teaches you to get cocky, man. So, and now I'm bummed on that one. It's like, what the fuck do I do with this thing now? I don't know if I'm building.
Now it's worthless, right?
Yeah. It was like, it was fine on the shelf, but you had to fuck with it, didn't you? You know what I mean? But they drive me nuts being sealed. I so want to open all of them, but at the same time, I know 90% of them, 80% of them are probably going to be screwed up.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know if it's something where you're on the fence of what I have sealed. I'm just going to leave sealed because it's just, like I said, it's strictly just in the collection as here's a German pressing, here's a promo pressing, here's a here's a sealed one, that's the only reason it's there, right? So, but if I had something like that where I've got like 3 sealed copies of, I'll pick on Vance, Led Zeppelin 3, right? I would sell them.
Yeah.
I would sell them. I would not leave them on my shelf and make me go, I wonder if it's real. I just really want to open one. No, if it's going to do that to me, I'd rather sell them off and profit on them. But, what's cool, though, is that you opened the Anthrax and it was perfect. And what a thrill that probably was. That was a day of entertainment right there, right?
Yeah.
So it served its freaking purpose, man.
Right. And at least I have another copy of the Hurricane. So, hey, Mike Young has an original Pantera Projects in the Jungle sealed. I'm afraid to open. Dude, I don't envy you on that one. That's, I might not sleep at night thinking about that one. That might be one I would try and sell and get an open copy.
But it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't open it. I would tell you that right now. Because right now, it's perfect. If you open it and that son of a bitch is warped, you're fucked. I hate them, man.
What?
I hate
but you're never going to know. You're never going to know.
I hate them. I mean, I've passed on stuff that's sealed. It's just like, I'm not dealing with it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Dude. Oh, you know what? Aaron, hold on. Speaking of this, actually, this is right up the alley. So, where did I put that son of a bitch? This came in from Amazon today. Speaking dilemma of a collector, right? But I want to show this because I don't know if you read my comment yet, but I recommended this to Aaron, Metal Theologian.
I can't tell what it is, dude. It's pretty dark.
Iron Griffin, Curse of the Sky. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is currently, it's a small press, Gate of, God, I can't read it. Gate of something records, small press. Okay. Amazon, $16, man. And it's a total like, lo-fi metal female vocalist that sounds like a freaking witch in the forest. It's just cool as fuck, man.
That's cool.
I'll show you what they look like. The drummer is from a pretty well-known band. I'm unfamiliar with them. It's a chick in the sky. But it's really, really cool. But this thing, so it comes in brand new from Amazon. And look at the sleeve.
Yeah. Amazon, man.
And warped beyond reason. And, so luckily, Amazon, you just get on and go, return and replace with the same thing, so they've already, plugged it in to send me a new one. So it's nice to have that option, but, to some people, I remember back in the day, man, you'd go to the record store, you'd buy your record, and you'd go home, and if it had any kind of defects like that, especially just the little crinkle in the sleeve, right? You lived with it, man. It was yours. That was your record. That was your copy, right? And it wasn't that big a deal, but I think we've gotten to the point now where,
oh, they want perfection.
Yeah.
I'm not that bad with it. I mean, warps and all that, yes, drive me nuts. But as far as like if I get a record in and it's got a ding on the end or on the corner, no big deal.
Of course. What? Where'd it go? There he is. Of course, right? But yeah, and I'll be honest, I fall prey to that too, but really only with, buying new, you know. It's different, even buying new in a record store, because you get to pick it up and look at it and check it out and go, okay, this one's okay.
Yeah.
But when you buy online, you're like praying to the freaking postal gods that they don't jack up your crap before it shows up at your door. So luckily, at least Amazon has that ability, but I think we've gotten spoiled a little bit,
Now, wait a minute, Mike Young. I've opened lots of sealed records and only remember one being slightly warped. Now, when you say sealed records, how old are you talking? Yeah, new stuff, it's not a big deal. It's not been sealed that long, but we're talking about old stuff.
Yeah, like, did you ever buy any of that cheap stuff they had on, was it oldies.com or something?
Yeah, George worked there, and he sent me like 30 records and some other people, other VC guys, and they were like $1 a piece he was getting them for.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it was bad.
Terrible, right?
Yeah. It was. I opened maybe 3 or 4 of them, and maybe one wasn't warped. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not opening these. And I told him, I'm like, I'm not hanging on to these dudes. They're pretty bad. So I took and traded them. Well, Mike, you've gotten lucky, because I've opened a ton of 80s stuff that's sealed, and it's a 50-50 shot, man, for me.
Yeah, first thing, man, especially with old stuff, man, if it's sealed, I'll pick it up, right? So you pick it up and you go like this.
Yep, exactly.
And if it's anything, like that,
right, walk away.
just put it back.
Unless you're going to keep it sealed, because man, who said about I done forgot. Who said about having the sealed Pantera? Oh, that's going to haunt me now.
Where is that? Let me see.
That's kind of interesting, because did those come sealed? I mean, those were indie pressed.
And there's another subject to talk about in one of these episodes, because there is a lot of forgery shit. And I don't mean just bootleg stuff, but freaking reseals and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah.
I don't see it now. But even down to where, if you're this picky, and I know some guys that are, I've heard stories where someone will take, let's say they got a Loudness Thunder in the East. They got a beautiful jacket, but the vinyl's jacked, right? Mm-hmm. And then they'll get a copy where the jacket's screwed up, but the vinyl's perfect, right? But this one might be like a Columbia House edition, but they'll put that record in the other one. So now really that vinyl does not coincide with that jacket, legitimately, right? It's a piece together kind of thing, and that's just records. I mean, as a collector, if you collect something, knowledge is power with what you're collecting, because there are people out there that are in the business of taking advantage of people like us who are collectors in some way. If there is a way, there are people out there that will find that way to make money off of you as a collector. Well,
we used to have a chain around here in the 80s called Waxy Maxis. They were all over DC, Baltimore area around in here.
Okay.
But those guys, like you were talking about, when you got a record, you got home and it was something wrong with it, you took it back, got another one, they resealed. I've seen a few people that work there, online talking about it, how it was common practice for Waxy Maxis.
Re-shrink it and throw it back in the bin.
Right, yeah. And I totally believe it, because I have a copy of the Bath Array, the first album, the Yellow Goat cover. Wow. Yeah, and it's an original I found at a flea market years ago. It's in a Waxy Maxis shrink. And from what I've read, those weren't weren't in shrink wrap when they come out. And I'm like, how is this thing in a shrink wrap? And then, you know, it's got thinking, it's like they would re-shrink all that stuff. It's like, it's pretty dirty, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think. There was something. What did I buy recently? God, I can't remember what it is now, but I bought some record recently, and it came shrink wrapped, but it wasn't heat shrinked. Okay, so they didn't, you know, shrink the shrink wrap. It was just like loose shrink wrap.
That's the way the wax.
Why don't they fucking do that now?
Yeah,
that's how they all should be.
Exactly.
Don't shrink them tight. Leave the shrink wrap loose so it protects the jacket, but doesn't fucking, you know,
right.
Reach on the record.
You ever get like an old one from like the 60s or 70s that's like almost like a laminate on it? You know what I mean? It's so part of the, it's like, should I put
and then you go to peel it and it just turns into like dust.
Yeah.
Like it reminds me of like fish scales. It flakes off like fish scales.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I have a Rush corrosive steel that was sealed, was warped a bit. A sealed white yokum, inner sleeve was torn. So either it was resealed or warehouse rips. You know, yeah, there's been stuff where you kind of can't tell.
Yeah.
You know, it's questionable or not.
Well, this interesting topic with the sealed records. I wish everybody luck if you decide to open them, because I'm fighting that battle in my head. I just want to go over here and pull every one and open them, but I know it's a gamble.
There's a good video for you, Greeno.
Yeah.
Tonight we're going to open 5 records live on video.
I don't know if I can take it, man.
Next up, this one, and people can place bets. You know, it's like,
yeah,
3-1, it's warped. You know,
oh man, I hate finding them, man, and I don't know. I mean, I found cool records where it's just like, oh, it's sealed. God damn, I want this. You know what I mean? I mean, it's that bad with me. It's if it's old and sealed, 90% of the time, I'm leaving it, man. I don't want to deal with it. Unless it's a good deal. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I'll take
a good deal, or if you really check it out and go, man, I don't know, this looks pretty good. You know, sometimes, like I said, you can kind of tell, man, if there's any kind of non-straightness to it. And you see the stretch marks at the corners. Yeah, I back away. But man, there's some sealed stuff I've seen where it's like, dude, this looks pretty. This is damn straight. Right. Know? So your odds are better there, but it's got to be, you know, cheap. You know.
Mike Young, that could be my cherry popper YouTube video, dude. I'm in. If you make a video of you opening that Pantera, I'm fucking in. I'm watching. That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool. I open all vinyl for selling or not. I don't play the ones I sell. What do you mean by that, Woody? I'm confused. I don't play the ones I sell.
Maybe it's stuff he gets in that he's not.
Oh, he opens everything in order to sell, I think, so that he can, you know, verify. Okay.
Man, I'd keep them sealed myself. You have less hassle, I would think. It's like, hey, it's sealed. You know, you're buying this bastard. It's up to you. You're gambling on it, not me.
Yeah. No returns, no exchanges. But, well, what are we at here? I'm curious. I'm
hour and 40. Holy crap, dude.
Hour and 40, man. God, I feel like we just barely even talked about, you know, this is a subject, I'm telling you, you know, especially with some other people in the comments feeding it, there's a lot of stuff we can talk about just being a collector.
Yeah. I think it's like you and I definitely collect more stuff. Got tons of old movies. But I think we're always going to end up coming around to music. I just think how it's going to be, especially with everybody in the
absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You know, there's
Mr. Bizarro. Open a sealed record right now. I can't. I have a breakdown on YouTube.
He hasn't had his medication yet today.
That's funny though, man. That's maybe that would be a cool video.
It would. You know? I know Scott Waters does that. What's he call, like seal to reveal or something? But it's like new stuff, you know. But that's a cool idea, though, to do it with, you know, some vintage sealed records. You know, open them live on video.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I think I froze up. What did you say?
I said I know Scott Waters does. He calls it seal to reveal or something. But it's always new records, you know, that he gets. He'll open it up on camera or whatever. But it'd be cool to do with some vintage stuff. That would be neat.
Yeah. Vance, that doesn't count. I'm breaking the seal on this Roxy Music greatest hits. Whatever, man. Do it. I'm pretty sure that one. Either
Vance,
way.
I'll send you a link right now to sign on and do it on camera. If you're really going to do it.
Do it.
He's got to send me his email.
John, you know, Waxy Maxis. It was a killer shop back in the day. I used to buy all kind of metal import stuff.
Aaron, BK, just sell it.
Leave it sealed. Oh my God. Somebody said it could be a support group.
But so everybody that's watching, you know, let us know, you know, if you think this is something that you all, or you think we should revisit and keep going. I was coming up with some ideas of you know, the collector idea. What did I say? Something about styles and strategies, and I can't remember what I called it, but just going over all different aspects on how we buy, where we buy, what we do, how we maintain our collections, how we maintain the stuff in our collection. I mean, just all kinds of stuff we could go over. Because that's the other thing that I notice, especially being in the VC, is you see every person in the VC has a different way. And of course, we share a lot of the same things too, but everybody has at least something they kind of do a little different with how they do their collection.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of stuff can be shared, you know, in that area. But
well, this was great, man. I mean,
cool.
The chat was killer. Thanks everybody for jumping in.
Definitely, thank you everybody for showing up, man. That was very cool.
The stories are great. Yeah, we'll have to get some more people in here.
That's the other thing. First time doing this, so you know, if it seems a little green, that's probably why. But
Mikey Bananas jumps in at the very end.
Oh, at the very end, dude, he'd be a great one to have on here too.
Yeah, because
talk about this subject.
Love Mikey Bananas, but he definitely collects in his own manner. Mm-hmm. And I love how he going out to the Goodwills and all that. It's killer.
Yeah, that's just it. He does other stuff too. He does video games and VHS and stuff like that. So,
and Mike Young band. Is that who said that about? Hold on, I'm sorry. Everything started moving.
Now they're all talking.
Yeah, somebody said they grew up in Baltimore. I'm kind of in the area. I'm not like right around Baltimore. Thanks, man. So I'll do occasionally more. And I'm over at Man Cave of Doom. We'll get that going again. George has just been real busy at the shop. And hopefully Laz and I will be doing more of these, man. This is awesome. Having fun.
For sure.
Mike Thank Young, make a video. I want to see you open that Pantera. That's the most exciting thing I've heard in a long time. It's like I'm on the edge of my seat. How's this going to end?
I want the sequel. Oh, man.
All right, man.
Well, all right, everybody. We're going to call it here. Thanks, y'all, for signing in and watching. We'll definitely be doing another one. So,
hell yeah, it's fun.
Greeno, my brother.
Later, man. Thanks.
Man.